All right, you guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast. I got a great guest for you guys, a guy I've known for a really long time, someone I consider a friend, but more importantly, he is an inspiration, a legend, and someone I look up to as a songwriter, as a musician, just as a recording artist in general, as a engineer, as a producer. All the things that I do, he does, in my opinion, in his own way better. So, Bill Stevenson, you know him as the drummer of the Descendents, All, Black Flag for a time, and he produced, recorded MxPx at the Show, our live album, our very first live album, him and Stephen. Really, that's, we got to know those guys in 97 on the first Warped Tour we were on. The Descendents were on that, and so we actually had time to hang out, do all the things you do when you're on tour together. So a lot of years, a lot of amazing experiences with these guys. So appreciate all your support. Let's get Bill on the phone. Let's do this. You look good.
How you been? It seems like I don't see you very often anymore.
Yeah, I've been good. I know it's like even when we're on the same bill somewhere, it's just busy, huh? How's the coffee routine? You still on coffee? You still on it?
Coffee routine is proximate. Yes.
Excellent. I quit coffee for a few years, and I am so happy to be back on it. Man, it's a sad world without caffeine. Yeah. Yeah, so I've been just busy because it's been, MxPx has been on all the Warped Tours, and so that's always a lot of fun, but a lot of work, and we just did Long Beach down there. That was great. Huge crowds these days on those Warped Tours, because everything's just bigger and bigger these days. But that, and then Goldfinger's been just crushing tons of shows. So between that, did you know I play bass for Goldfinger?
Oh, I didn't know you were playing bass for Goldfinger. I didn't even know Goldfinger were playing shows. They were never quite like in my radar or something. I don't really know much about them.
Yeah.
But plus two, hey, I don't keep my ear as low to the ground as I used to. I don't always know what's happening. It's like my son has to tell me like what's going on. He'll be, hey, so and so's playing in Denver. You should go check them out. They're good. Maybe you want to record them at the studio or whatever.
Oh,
it's like my son turns me on to more bands now than my friends or colleagues.
Of course. And Miles is awesome. I mean, how is it having your son out on tour with you? You've done it a few times, but you guys are going to be out on tour by the time this drops next week, right? So you start the tour this Friday. It's going to drop. There's going to be a couple shows. But dude, your son on tour with you, that's got to be kind of an insane thing.
It's really, really fun. It's a kind of a special thing that it's kind of unto itself. I've never quite felt that way playing music with someone as I do when I play with Miles. It's really it was born like during COVID. By then he was kind of learning, simple guitar. He was picking up guitar. And then in COVID, my band couldn't come over to practice. And his guys that he was kind of playing with, they couldn't come over to practice because everyone was like COVID, But since he and I were already in the house together, we could go down in the basement and play every day. So we just started doing that. We play covers, or we'd play songs that he was working on or riffs that he was working on. He even learned like 20 of the Descendants songs and so I could practice those with him on guitar. And so, and it was just really cool. And then just to see him grow and evolve as a musician is really just I can't really put words to it. It's just a unique feeling, a really special feeling.
Yeah, I can only imagine. You know, my daughter Sailor is a musician too, and she's getting started. And sometimes we'll go into the basement, and I got to tell you, it's hard to put words, but it's just like, it's just amazing to do something you love and you've done your whole life with your kids, with one of your kids. You know, so it's man. But to take it to the next level and have Miles on tour with you, playing in front of audiences, that's next level, my friend.
This tour is going to be interesting because it's a very commingled situation. So we're all going to be together in the bus, all three bands, you know. So Miles, okay. So start with Snodgrass, okay.
Okay.
So I recorded and mixed and played drums on and played bass on Snodgrass's newest record. So, you know, I played the drums and the bass.
Nice.
And you know, I've always written pretty adventurous bass parts. You know, Descendents are kind of known for that. And so on this tour, I'll be playing bass, I'll be playing drums for Snodgrass, but my son, Miles, will be playing bass.
Okay.
You know, but he's playing these like horrifically complicated parts that I played on the record. So it's kind of an interesting little turn of something there, turn of dynamic.
Yeah.
And then his band, All My Senses, will play as well. And they're very powerful. They're like they're going to blow us off the stage to put it, you know, to put it accurately. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so that's going to be fun. And then you know, it'll be all, and you know, we're all still very, very close friends. You know, really, like we're like family. It's like really close friends. So it's gonna be a really good, pleasant experience to have. Also to have that really multi-generational thing. I mean, we're like old, so it's you know, it's some of I don't know how old the youngest person in Miles's band is, but you know, we almost got 3 generations on that bus. You know, it's gonna be
that is wild.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Plus, I'm looking forward to playing the all material. You know, to playing it live. It's that material, a lot of it is a little more, what do you say, proggy? That's almost a dismissive term, but I mean, it's
as a muso, I get it, but
a little more adventurous arrangements. You know, not necessarily more physically challenging per se, but more adventurous arrangements. And so I always look forward to doing those shows.
Absolutely. Who's singing?
It's a really like, okay, I have to be like, okay, I'm 62.
Yeah.
Can I still get all these, like, you know, things I ripped off from Omar Hakim or whoever I might have ripped? Can I still pull that off? You know, so it's just very fun. I'm glad to be healthy and you know, healthy of sound mind and body and sound psychology, and just still be enjoying the music.
Oh my God! I mean, absolutely, that is everything. You know, as we get up there. But real quick, is Chad Price singing? Yeah. So he's going to be out on tour. Yeah. Love Chad. Love Chad.
But when we get to that festival in Tillsonburg, Canada, the Buddies Fest, that's going to be a real free for all because we're going to do a whole all show with Chad singing. We're going to do a whole other all show, a whole different set of songs with Scott singing. Nice. And then we're going to do Snodgrass Band with me and Miles and Snodgrass, and we're going to do Scott Band because, you know, Scott has 5 solo albums, I think. We're going to do Scott Band also with me and Miles on bass and drums. So that's going to be a lot of, you know, kind of full circle sort of commingling type thing. I'm really looking forward to it.
It's a Descendants all fans.
I really enjoyed playing with Jon, with Snodgrass. I really enjoy it. I did a little tour with him down in the South, and I had a great time. There was no roadies, there was no crew, there was no nothing. It was just,
just a band.
Setting my own drums up every day and moving them on and off the stage at sound check, moving them on and off the stage for the other bands, and so it was like a lot of like working, and I really enjoyed it, and I like playing that music. The music, it's high energy and it's fun, but it's not like okay, I have to have 15 espresso to play this, and if I don't play it right, I'm going to lose my house. The Descendents, there's a lot of stress behind that. A lot of great fun, but also a lot of stress. With Jon's material, as long as I have a cup of coffee, that stuff's mostly mid-tempo, and I can enjoy myself while I'm playing. Whereas with a lot of the all material and the Descendants material, it's like, oh, I'm gonna get through this. Ah!
You did it to yourself.
And you probably are aware of this from the bass player world too. You go online and there's like a million drummers that can play anything that I've ever played. They can play it like with one hand while they're drinking a coffee.
Sure. I know that guy.
It's the same in the bass world. There's it's like everybody's a shredder. There's a million drummers in garages like 3 miles from here that could just play circles around me. So it's really weird how that has evolved. Punk rock, used to mostly have shitty players in it, and then we were like among the they actually can play pretty well, but now everybody plays really
That's
well.
very true. Everybody practices now, which they should have in the first place, but I got to tell you, you are you. No one can do what you do, even if they can play the parts or whatever. Like, you just got to remember, you're writing the songs, you're doing the work, you're doing the everyday consistent showing up. And so don't discount who you are, Bill, because you are an absolute legend. No one's going to dispute that. But I hear what you're saying. People are more polished nowadays, so we just have to be ourselves. We can't just start chasing what other people are doing because, that's success to them. They're, whatever. But you are successful. You have been for, I don't know how many years you guys been doing this thing, but I don't even want to date you guys, but
47?
47. Oh my God. Do you know how old I am, Bill?
I'll take a guess. I'm going to take a wild swing. I'm going to say late 40s.
You're very right. 49.
Okay, yeah.
So, wow. Just it's insane that it's hard to do anything for that long, and
I think, okay, speaking for myself,
mm-hmm.
and for all the band guys, really, to a person, every one of the band guys, all of them. I mean, all the band guys and all the bands I've been in, none of us were like trained or, had a lot, music lessons and that sort of thing. And there wasn't, where you can just look on YouTube and see how this, the Slipknot guy plays 900 million miles an hour with his double bass drums. Now you can just click a video and they'll show you how to do it. But so back then, I think we were all finding our own ways to do things. And I don't know if you ever had this experience, but like when I kind of, on guitar, I learned all instruments at the same time, bass,
mm-hmm.
guitar, drums. I was right there all at once. But when I got to a point on guitar where I was starting to use a lot of what some of the guys joke, they call it the expensive chords.
Mm-hmm.
Your minor sevenths and your 11ths and your ninths, and
we call those adult chords.
Yeah, the expensive chords.
Yeah,
that's like the Mercy Music guys said that term. They go, yeah, all uses expensive chords. But so when I started doing that, there wasn't, when your fingers going like this, some crazy thing. I literally was so musically ignorant, so untrained, so untaught, so unrefined. I actually thought that, I invented this chord that like you would now just call it a ninth,
right?
Like this. And I thought, whoa, listen to this chord I made up, because I didn't know, because I was coming from like, yeah, Ramones, Rolling Stones, Kiss, Aerosmith, and they weren't really using many fancy chords. So I thought, and when I would see Saccharine Trust, I thought Joe Baiza, I thought he made those chords up, like a suspended chord or a ninth or minor seven. I was like, whoa, he made those chords up. They're not a bar chord. They're not a bar chord and a power chord. He made them up. Like, I seriously thought we made up our thing. We invented it.
That's insane.
How ignorant I was.
That is insane. I love that, though. That's almost why you guys have been successful, is because we, as punk bands, you know, there's a certain amount of naivety when it comes to music. You know, the fact that we would have the audacity to put out an album that people can buy and go on tour, and people can buy tickets to your show, and we're just this punk band. So like, we learned that from you guys, you know, early on.
Yeah, and just the thing of just the clutch thing, I think, that separated the first wave of punk bands was you get that van and you put that loft in there halfway, so 4 people can lay down back there. Then you eliminated hotels, and you eliminated tour bus. There was never a tour bus. Not affordable. But when you build that plywood loft in there and put some foam on top of there, or don't put some foam, maybe just tack on some used carpet you dug out of the trash. Then it was like, okay, we're going on tour. We don't care if we lose money or what, or if we sleep on the floor or in the van with like you're using like your bass player's feet for a pillow or just whatever. It's like, no, we're doing this. I think it was a cool time, and a lot of the bands, like looking at LA bands, a lot of them, they never made it out of LA because they kind of weren't willing to endure that. You know, it's a lot. It
is a lot.
And so the bands that did make it out of LA, I would use Black Flag as a prime example there. They got out there and blazed the trails, and so they were known in the nation. Whereas a lot of the LA punk bands, the greatest ones, they were only known in LA. They never left their little bubble, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you guys obviously you learned that from them or whatever, but you started touring with All. Because I didn't catch the Descendents on your first round, but when you were doing All, I was a little kid and I was in junior high, and I wasn't in a band yet, but I went and saw you guys at the OK Hotel on your Percolator tour.
Oh, absolutely.
In Seattle, Washington.
I loved those shows.
Dude, that was like formative in such an insane way, because I was going to a lot of local punk shows, saw the Gits, saw Hester Prynne, a lot of cool stuff that was great back then, and then seeing you guys, I didn't know what you looked like.
Did you see My Name back in that days?
Absolutely. And Big Drill Car was on tour with you guys on that tour.
Oh, All My Name, Big Drill Car.
Yeah, so I saw them all.
Great tour. I mean, that's because you don't go on after My Name. Don't do it. They're going to blow
so
you off the stage.
good.
There's no way around it.
Yeah, so I didn't know what you guys looked like because I had a cassette tape that was dubbed, so it wasn't like, back in those days it was hard to get the record. So I had All Roy Says, and I was like, did the first song get cut off or something? Because I wasn't just, it's an instrumental song, so I was like, what is this? And I loved every second of it.
Must have been All Roy's Revenge.
Oh, it was All Roy's. It was.
Or where you think it does, because it just kind of starts with
yes.
New theme kind of starts like you're hopping onto a moving train.
That's what it was.
There's no. It's just like there it is. Yeah.
That's it. I'm sorry. There was no name on it. It was just All, and then it was that album. It was Revenge. So that was the record I had. Went there and I saw. I think it was either My Name or Big Drill Car was on right before you guys, and I thought it was you guys because it kind of had the similar sound. And I was like, well, maybe it's a song that I don't know. And the bass player was playing an Ernie Ball a Music Man Stingray. And that's when I first fell in love with Stingrays, because I thought it was Carl. Because I was so into Carl's bass playing, but I didn't know what anybody looked like. And so when you guys finally went on, and I was like, oh, this is All. well, these guys are badass. I remember Scott was up there, no shirt, looking like Popeye. Like, to me, like, I was just in the crowd as a kid. There was no more pure form of seeing a band. So that's my first all show story, and I'll try not to fanboy anymore about it, but it was great.
That was an interesting time. That late 80s, early 90s was interesting because 88, 89, you know, I'm thinking, honestly, I'm thinking, okay, there's not going to be music anymore like that has guitars on it, because everything was going the way of like drum machines and electronic stuff and all the kind of pop R&B that was
right
just taking over everything, and all the synth pop, and I'm like, well, there's not going to be guitars anymore. It was really a weird moment. I remember feeling like this probably isn't, it's not accurate, but this is how I felt. I felt like we were alone out there, and it was us and NoMeansNo and Fugazi, and we were completely alone. There weren't we didn't have any peers, is what it seemed like.
Yeah.
But then literally like 1 year later, then, you know, you got like Mudhoney coming on there, and it's like, oh no, guitars are going to stay, because the Mudhoney's going to be in their garage playing, and no one's going to stop that. No one's going to stop, you know, Nirvana or some of these bands that were coming out. And I'm like, oh, okay, there's still going to be guitars. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a crazy thing to think about. But it feels like that even now. Like, people don't use drums on stuff. But like you're saying, there's always a niche. There's room for guitar music. And anytime guitar music is less popular, it always gets more you know, it comes up and down like a roller coaster, right? I think that's punk rock, that's rock, that's all things live music. It just kind of comes up and down. People need to get out there and see all, honestly, because like I was saying before, like, you guys are just such a great band. Like, the songs, probably my favorite song by all is She's My Ex. With a close second being Scary Sad. Like, that song blew me away when I heard that song. It's just so different.
Which one?
Scary Sad, I would say, blew me away, because it's just it's so heartfelt. It's so, like, I don't know what it's about. You know, I never really dug into it, but like, you can kind of just make up your own story a little bit, and it really is deep.
It's really hard to judge your own stuff. You know, you can't have really created it and then also judge it.
Sure.
But I do look back on a lot of my stuff, and I look at it and I go, you know, a lot of that's just kind of like trite high school poetry. And I don't, you know, I'm not necessarily proud of like every single thing, you know. But I did think Scary Sad was one of few what I would personally call a success for me, for like me to accomplish what I thought I was going to accomplish. That one is it's part of a very, very small list of songs that I actually am like, yeah, I think that one came out well. And then a lot of them I just think, dude, a grown man ought to be able to write a better lyric than that, you know, or that kind of stuff. You know, and the older I get, the more I get exposed to great lyrics. Like, Cole Porter kind of ruined my life. Like, when I discovered Cole Porter, I just, it's either like, Bill, you have to quit music, or you have to get like 5 times better. That's all there is to it, you know. There's no place in this world for your stupid songs as long as Cole Porter's songs exist. And so I kind of got stuck.
Yeah,
and it gave me the biggest long-term case of imposter syndrome ever. Before that, I thought I was just the coolest guy in the world and writing all the coolest songs and stuff. And then when I started really listening to that Cole Porter stuff, along with a lot of the jazz stuff, I just kind of went, whoa, dude, you're like a mediocre songwriter. You know, you need to do better than this.
I mean, I get the sentiment. I get why that happens to all of us, and it happens to me too. I mean, as you grow older and you look at your older stuff, you're like, man, I wish I would have known this was going to live on for 30 plus years. You know, I would have thought about it.
But you know, I still listen to Move to Bremerton. The heart, the sentiment of it. It's there. The heart of it's there, and that's more important than the rest of it.
And that's what I would say about any song that you feel like that about you. Like, you know, like I could have done better. But honestly, it means so much to the listener because they had a moment in their life with those songs, right? And those songs have lived on throughout their life. Anytime they need a pick-me-up, they put on this song. Anytime, you know, and I could say that's true for Descendents, you know.
You just used the word a moment, and that's, I think, probably more important. Is like, did you successfully get a snapshot of like kind of everything you were going through during that not that day, but like that month or that year or even that period of your life? Did you capture that? And we're going back to Scary Sad, like I did capture that. I had just, you know, I had been treated, you know, so poorly. And I managed to just soak it all in there in the paper and, you know, blame it on the other person, which, you know, you're not supposed to do that. But I kind of just, I got it out there, and then I was able to move past it because of that. I remember the moment, you know, with that song, because it was when I had the song done, but I didn't quite have all the lyrics for the bridge. And so the song, I get to move past the song in the song, where I say, every girl I've ever hated is just a monster that I created. If I close my eyes real tight, scary, sad things will go away, and I'll quit living in yesterday. I'll just smile and laugh at all the scary, sad things you put me through. To move past the song, and like that. So that was like I got the moment, and then the song, writing the song allowed me to get out of the moment and go forward. Yeah,
dude, that's beautiful, and that's what's beautiful about music. You know, it doesn't matter how technically good it is, or you know how well crafted the lyric is. That's a great lyric you wrote. Like, there's nothing wrong with that lyric. And if you add some clever little twist to it, like even more, I mean, it is clever, but you know what I mean? How people like will put cliche stuff into lyrics to make it more clever and have a little turn of phrase.
Dark before the dawn. Or
it
whatever.
Feels more forced that way. And this just feels real to me. Like I never once.
You ever listen to Aerosmith and just, one day because I was a big
Of course
Aerosmith.
I have, yeah.
I mean real Aerosmith though, not pop Aerosmith. You know, like their first 4 albums.
Yes.
And I loved them. I think Joe Perry's the greatest guitar player in the world. But once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Steven Tyler, he just strings together cliches or figures of speech. He just strings them together. The lyric is just a string of cliches. Now, once you go back and hear Aerosmith, you're just going to go, oh, no. Bill ruined it for me. But it's true.
They've always been a little more corporate anyway, but they are amazing musicians. They could make any kind of band setup sound great. You know, I heard a story about them like walking into a cover band's like show at a hotel, and they were kind of like clinking, and they showed up and they started playing, and it sounded like $1 million because it's like these guys just know how to pull it out of those instruments. You know, Joe Perry. Yeah. It
was Dukowski. Actually, Dukowski's the one that pointed that out about Steven Tyler, and I was only 14, I think, at the time. And once I heard, I went, "Oh, you wrecked it!
Yeah,
you killed it for me."
Oh my God! Well, you know, I mean, we could go a million different ways, but I was wondering, what would it be like if I wrote a song, gave it to you? What would it sound like? Would it sound like an all song or a Descendants song, or would it still sound like an MxPx song? You know, because you have Milo writing songs, you have Carl writing songs, you have even on the all side, you have, everybody writes songs, right? So
Well,
But
yeah, Stephen writes too.
Stephen, of course.
Doug did. Ray did.
But
Scott did. Dave did.
I feel like
everyone.
you're the glue that glues it all together. Like you've always been the style and the sound of Descendents, all whatever you're doing.
I feel like I've maybe been the ringleader, the den mother.
Everybody needs one. Every band needs one.
I'm not the sound is the band.
Of course.
That's why, like, Milo Goes to College sounds so very different than like Descendents All. The Blue record Within My Van and Clean Sheets, because that's a different band.
Right.
That's 50% different members. And no, the band members are the sound, not me. I may just kind of have a way of organizing things, organizing.
I think that's it. Of course, I love all of the band members. I know everybody, but that's what I mean. You kind of organize it, and it all has an aesthetic to it. From the gray drums, which if you want to tell that story, from
you're from Bremerton. You know where that gray comes from.
Oh yeah, the boats.
All the ships, yeah.
All the ships.
Battleship gray, yeah.
So,
but in our case, it was commercial fishing boat gray, not battleship gray. I wouldn't, align myself with a battleship.
Of course.
But all of our fishing boats were always gray. That was like what color you painted your boat if you were a serious fisherman. Yeah. And so I just made my drums be gray.
Serious drummer. That's great. I think that's awesome. And so I guess that's what I mean. I don't obviously.
If you sent me a song,
yeah,
it would. I would put like a lot of my stink on it.
Exactly right.
With the drums, I just can't. Like, if you sent me a song and said you play everything and sing everything, I would really. You wouldn't, because I can't. I have to change beats every 2 bars. I can't sit still. I just can't do it. And with the bass too, the bass always has to be telling its whole own story aside from what the vocal melody's doing. The bass is telling its story, guitar's telling its story. The guitar's got its own melody, usually like interspersed within the fancy chords. There's a melody in the guitar. And with the bass, it's a straight up melody, and you get all that going at once. And I usually, my beats end up. I find ways to put threes in everything, not triplets, but threes. Mm-hmm. So there's always this Latin undertow, and I don't know if it's just because I grew up in LA and I've like literally I took 11 years Spanish. Like, I've just spent my whole life wanting to be Mexican, so I don't know. I don't know if it's that, but yeah. So it just ends up feeling a certain way, and that makes me happy.
It's got your fingerprints on it. Yeah. So
yeah.
I don't want to forget this because some people may not know out there listening to the podcast, but you produced and recorded MxPx at the show, our very first live album, you and Stephen, and that's sort of been legendary in our career, having that live album. So thank you again for doing that.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I remember we got cheesesteaks out in front of the what was it, the TLA?
TLA. That's right.
Yeah, we got cheesesteaks out in front of there. Yeah, I remember it.
That was awesome. So Yuri had asked you, how do you play so fast with your right hand? And you looked at Yuri and said, well, you got a girlfriend? And you wagged your middle finger. Do you remember that? Maybe we won't talk about that.
That sounds like something I would say then.
It's a legendary story.
I'll tell you this:
you always talk about.
My diddling finger is not what it used to be. I'm gonna just say it, man. I'm gonna be 63 in a month, and so yeah, I'm having to really work hard to get those eighth notes out at 200 beats, 220 beats a minute. I'm really having to work hard at it. It's definitely, you start your real quick reaction shit. That stuff starts tapering off when you're in your mid 20s. It starts sloping off, but then it really hits parabolic reduction, as you get older, and you get sarcopenia, you lose muscle mass. So, man, I'm doing everything I can to stay in the game with that, get those eighth notes out there. We just did a tour where we played all the songs off Everything Sucks, and there happens to be one on there. It's called This Place Sucks, and that's got the 16th notes at 232 beats a minute of me going...
Yeah.
For a while, not just a fill, but like a whole, because I'll do this for a whole song section, like on my edge, it's like...
Do-do-do-do-do. Yep.
I get it. It's getting tough to get those out. I mean, I mentioned 15 espresso earlier. That's not an exaggeration, and it's not a joke either. Because then you do that, you get that show done, but then you can't sleep all night. So then you start the next day and you're sleep deprived. So then you got to have even more espresso to get those there.
That is the vicious cycle, right?
Tell Yuri, I'm going to come to him and ask him how he does it now.
Dude, I mean, it's all mental too. It's mental because
Yuri's one of the best of that whole genre. He really is.
Yeah. Shout out Yuri. He looks up to you, and he's been great. He's been great. He's a machine. I guess, stretch a lot. That's what I've been doing. I stretch my back out before shows and get in weird positions. But like, if you're all just loose, the looser you are, the better, I think, like no matter what. But
yeah, because I've always done my stretching routine. I've done it since I was 19 years old.
Yeah, I think that's kept you in the game.
But now I got a whole other routine. I do 3 days a week of resistance training. And I do that with my... You ever seen Filmage?
Yes.
The movie?
Absolutely.
Well, there's a doctor in there.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So he and I became kind of best friends. So 3 days a week I go with him to the gym and I do resistance training. And then another 2 days of the week I do cardiovascular training, some kind of interval training, for about an hour. And I usually do that with Jon, with Snodgrass.
Okay.
He really leans into it. Like he works really hard at it. So I do all that stuff, and then I do the stretching. The yoga. I've just always done the yoga. I've never not done it because you can literally do that for 20 minutes and you feel twice as good as you did before. It's the easiest way to fix a bad attitude, a stiff back, feeling just funky or hungover. You do 20 minutes of stretching and you're good as new.
Yeah, I think everything's better after stretching. Like it's so funny how like all us artists backstage are always talking about stretching, but it is literally the thing that keeps you rolling. It's wild.
Okay, in 84, I started getting hives.
Okay.
Hives.
Yeah, allergic.
Like too much nerves.
Okay.
Hives, or like my lips would swell up, like, or my throat would swell up and I couldn't breathe, or my eyes would swell up and one of them would be shut, and I was having too much bad nerves, and so it was really getting to be a problem. And so I remember Black Flag had a day off. And I was really in a bad way. And Kira went downstairs from the hotel, and she had noticed that there was a used bookstore there. And she comes back up to the room, and she's just got this little book it's like 35 pages, this little used book. She paid like 50 pence for it, brown pages, dirty. And she's like, okay, look, this will probably help you to not get the hives anymore. She's like, you get on the floor and I'll read the book. Neither of us knew what we were doing. She's like, I'll read the book and you get on the floor and I'll read the book and tell you like what to do and how to do it. And I went through that little book. It had about 20 stretches in it. I went through that little book, took about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, because it was my first time doing it. Mm-hmm. And I never got hives again after that. It was like a miracle. It was a miracle. And so I'll never quit doing those.
That's insane. What?
Isn't that a weird story?
Yeah.
It was a used bookstore in England. We were in England on tour.
Where's the book now?
I mean, I memorized it. I don't. We lost everything back then because we'd go on tour, you know, and the cops would come in, but break into our, you know, because we always like lived where we practiced. It was always like the record label, the practice, the sleeping, the booking. It was all just in some burned out little office building that we put carpet on the walls. But we'd come home from tour and the door would be boarded up and the cops had just confiscated all our stuff and just said, like, you don't practice here anymore, because they hated Black Flag. They hated us.
Yeah.
And so all my stuff's gone. Like my Afghan that my mom made me when I was a little kid, cops have it. My pink snare that I recorded Milo goes to college with it, my little Ludwig, you know, what's that, the Acrolite, you know, the one everybody likes.
Yep.
It's gone. The cops have it. So it's like,
Dude. That's insane. Yeah, that's just like a chapter out of Get in the Van right there, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if it's as you know, Henry makes all that stuff sound pretty I don't know what you call it, dramatized, or
Sure.
I don't mean to say that those
makes a story
didn't happen. I just mean he really made it sound like, whoa.
Yeah, but I mean, it is what it is. You come back from tour, all your stuff's gone. That is whoa, and it's unjust.
It was like they would find us. They would find us, and they knew we were living there because I think people would be outside the door smoking, or there was usually people coming and going, or like, you know, girls coming at odd hours and leaving, and this sort of thing. And they're just like, we can't have this. And they would find out wherever we had moved to, and they'd kick us out again. You know, it was lame.
Oh, jeez. That's insane. I mean, that's partly why Black Flag is the way it is, or was, you know, those songs. I mean, that's lived experience. You guys are writing and playing, and you're just like putting so much aggression into the music, and, you know, you can't get that if you're just kind of hanging out on Main Street in Hobunk Town or whatever, like, right? Like, it's a little different vibe, right? Like it. And
well, there were a few pretty interesting things that occurred that fueled that fire you're talking about. One was when those white power people they tried to kill us. They tried to run us over with their car for real. They came up onto the sidewalk, and we had to. Luckily, there was a park, and so there was a fence. And me and Greg had to climb up on the fence, and then they drove by under us. You know, they would have ran us over. But then they made it clear who they were. They said SWP, which is Supreme White Power. Mm-hmm. And they I think they thought because the band name was Black Flag that we were some sort of a I don't know, a Black Power movement or something. I don't know. I don't really know what they thought. And I mean, but so they were trying to kill us. So this was right before we recorded My War. So my friend, my commercial fishing buddy, Pat, he was like who I commercial fished with. I told him what was happening, and he goes, "Oh yeah, let's go down." He grabbed his 30-30, a rifle.
Yeah.
And he just goes, "No, all." And he goes, "How about this?" He goes, "Armed practice." Because we were afraid. We were afraid to go to the practice room because they were trying to kill us. They stole a bunch of our stuff too when we were gone. So we had to practice because we were recording in like a week. Mm-hmm. So yeah, my friend Pat sat right outside the practice room in his primer gray El Camino with that 30-30. And we practiced that week. You know, it was armed practice. So when you hear My War, it's like it's real. I mean, it was bad.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. You know, I'm over here in Bremerton with my brass knuckles and a katana sword. Just in case, because whatever. I got my own stories. But dude, okay, so All's going on tour. Descendents are going on tour in the fall. What's happening there?
It's going to be fun. It's going to be the Chats.
Okay, great.
It's going to be the Chats. I don't really know if they should be playing before us. I mean, aren't they huge now?
Not in the U.S. They're big in some places, but I think
when I saw the bill and I'm like, whoa, shouldn't that be flipped?
No.
So it's going to be the Chats and the Descendants and Social Distortion.
Oh yeah,
so it's going to be fun.
Cool. That'll be great. New record. That's always great to get a new Social D record. And Mike Ness is talking about how he wants to make as many records in the next 10 years as possible. I think he feels like there's a clock ticking and he needs to like just do as much as possible. But he's always been a guy that's been like, no, less is more. Let's just put out quality. It's not important to put out a lot of things. So there's a little bit of a time constraint, but also let's put out quality thing happening, I think, with Social D. You don't feel that pressure though, right? Like
we just do whatever we want.
You should, yeah.
And I think the older I get, I know Stephen, he writes more and more songs he writes increasingly more songs.
Yeah.
Milo writes kind of his usual amount. I'm writing less and less because of that imposter thing I told you about. Like, because Cole Porter, you got Cole Porter on your left shoulder here saying, well, Bill, I mean, that really isn't a very good lyric now, is it, Bill? And then over here you got Ornette Coleman saying, you have to remember, Bill, that we as artists have a responsibility to aspire to more than what we inherited. So with those two guys on my shoulder, it's like, well, shit, nothing I do is going to be good enough for those two, but they're sitting there, you know. You
got to kick them to the curb now and again. So let me ask you this. You've said that you've dreamt songs, like woke up and had a whole song fully developed in your head.
I only dream songs. I'm not going to sit in my chair and go, oh, E flat minor to C. Oh, that sounds good. No, I dream the songs and then I go in and write them down.
So is Cole Porter in your dreams going, hey, man, like what's going on?
Well, but usually when I dream a song, I only get the chorus.
The chorus, and then you have to fill in the rest of the lyrics.
And it's that filling in part where I always feel like...
That is the hardest.
Well, it feels false to me. It's like if it doesn't come by one of those weird premonitions, I know that sounds so stupid to be calling it that, whatever that dream thing, but that's how most of my songs have been. It's been like right when I wake up, I'll have this thing. And I'll go quick, just right out of my chonies and try to record some primitive version of it.
That's perfect. I mean, that's the thing is like maybe you do that and then you go, hey Stephen, like what do you got over here? Do you guys collab on stuff nowadays or?
Yeah, we do that every once in a while. Like on the last album, I had two pretty wampum choruses that I had been literally sitting on since 2005, 6. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Stefan, I'm not gonna finish them because for me to finish them, it means I have to do that thing where I sit down and like, what chord would go good there? I don't do that. You know, it's got to be a flash of light. You know, like and maybe that's me being lazy, but I don't think so. I don't like it when things are thrown together. But
absolutely.
I sent him to Stefan, and he sent me back some chord progressions that for the parts that I didn't have. Like I had the intro and the chorus, and then he sent me back like a pretty good verse and a good bridge, and I go, okay, I can write lyrics to this because this makes sense to me. And so I had good luck with that. I had good luck with that. Like that song Without Love was that way. Stefan helped me bring it to the finish line. Like he helped a lot.
And that's become kind of a fan favorite of some of your newer material, right?
I'm not sure if it has. I mean, it is like a proper song.
I recognize it every time you play it live, you know, and it is a newer song that I haven't necessarily spent time listening to the album version, but it's great.
I never know what people think because, like, let's just say if you're us or Bad Religion or NoFX or like, do people really, are they really going to listen to like the 10th Descendents album or the like 12th Bad Religion album? I mean, are they going to do that? or is there some young band that they're going to listen to?
I mean, I think it's both. I think you're right. You know, it's harder and harder to stay up in your game when you have 10 albums. You know, MxPx has 12 coming. We have a new record coming later this year. I feel
like once you're not new anymore, if you put an album out, it has to be 3 times as good as your other releases to get anyone to pay any attention to it at all. And if it's not good, they're gonna rip you apart.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's like
has to be good.
It's almost. I mean, I think it's fair. You almost have to. You have to earn your raison d'être in this day and age. Like why? Like, hey, why are you still doing it? Is this just a vehicle so you can put an album out and get new posters on the wall and go to fuel another tour? You know, to be the engine to fuel another tour. Is that why you're putting this record out? Because this record ain't very good. So I think it's tricky when you're an older band.
Oh yeah,
you really got to write good songs, or it's going to get overlooked.
Absolutely, you're right. Absolutely, and but also you guys do write great songs, so you just got to pick the very best.
Sometimes we do, yeah. I mean, we try to.
Yeah, of course.
We definitely try for the like quality thing. You were talking about quality earlier, less quantity, more quality. But I mean, it's hard to quantify that. I mean, every time I pick up a guitar, I'm not thinking about quantity. I'm thinking about quality. But then whether it actually ends up being high quality, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, each song as you're writing it should be technically like, this is one of the best songs I've ever written.
This is the greatest song I've ever written. Yeah, otherwise why bother? Yeah, totally.
Exactly. Because then you're like, is this going to make a record? If this has no chance of making an album, do I keep writing? Do I keep plucking out that chord progression? Yeah, so I'm with you there. Since
we have 4 songwriters, right? 4 songwriters, and let's say a typical album has, I don't know, let's just say with ours, sometimes they have short songs. Let's say it has 15 songs. Let's just say. So each guy writes a quarter. So, okay, is this song good enough to be like one of my 4 songs that are going to go on the album? Is this song worth taking up, 8% of this album? Is it worthy of that?
And here's a little crazy thing to think about too, because you may not be the right judge of what's good and what should be one of your 4 songs, right? Like sometimes the song you don't think anybody's going to like is what everybody loves. And you're like, damn it, I didn't want them to like that song. And I knew they were going to like it in the back of my head. But, because it's like the lowest common denominator, the shortest line from point A to point B with an idea or a hook. It's usually what people end up liking, But us band guys also want to give this other idea a shot because it's like something we haven't done before. So it's hard to judge your own material because everywhere you go, there you are. No matter how good you get, it's still you.
Yeah, I sometimes I joke with bands. I do this more when I'm in the recording studio. Like if I'm producing a band at the blasting room, and there's always especially when you're working with bigger bands, there's always the dirty word of, the S word, the single. What's the single?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't care. I don't listen to singles. I listen to albums. I used to get home from school, pull out Dressed to Kill by Kiss, their 3rd record, put the record on, hold the sleeve, sit on my bed, lay back on my bed and look at the sleeve and listen to the whole album. I give no shits about a single. But then, what's the single? And I'm almost like, look, I'm the reverse barometer for single. So if you ask me what the worst song on the record is, and I choose it, that's the one that should be your single, because that's probably going to be the one that people like.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, I feel that way a lot of times about my own songs, is I can't pick my own single. Like, it's just, whatever you guys think is the best, is the most accessible song, we'll go with that.
What is it? You can't be judge, jury, and executioner. You can't be creator and critiquer.
Yeah.
You can, but there's an inherently very large bias in the room.
Huge bias. Absolutely. Man, dude, I'm so glad we finally did this. Thanks for finally coming on the podcast. I know I never asked you back in the day, but I feel like things happen the way they need to happen in the time they need to happen. But I appreciate your time, Bill. This tour is happening as this podcast drops.
Yeah, so, we're doing a little leg of dates.
So if you're
starting Friday,
if anybody's gonna go out to see this tour and you're listening, go get tickets ahead of time. Just get tickets. You can get, I don't know, go to Jon Snodgrass. I don't know where you get tickets for this, but
on the Descendents socials too, because everybody knows where those are.
There you go.
But it's so it's Denver, Kansas City, St. Louis, Indianapolis,
Chicago,
Detroit.
Tillsonburg is before Detroit. Before Detroit.
Yeah.
So Tillsonburg
next week. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to it.
Dude, I wish I could be there. You're not hitting my city, but we've been in and out too. It's been great. Warped Tour has been insane. Miss you guys out there. Maybe I'm sure they're trying to get you.
It's weird. What is it? My deodorant or something? Like they've never even made us an offer.
Really?
Yeah, we were like on the second and third Warped.
Yeah, I mean, let's see, 97 we played with you guys on the East Coast. We were only on part of it, but that was amazing to see the Descendents.
It must be my aftershave.
I think it takes a minute. We weren't asked the first year, so maybe they've got some bigger plans and they want the Descendents in 2027.
Or maybe they're doing just bands that have a fresh record,
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Yeah. That's it.
That's okay though. I don't.
It doesn't matter. You guys are kind of killing it. You guys you're just, as long as you want to be out there, you can be, because people will always want to see you. I see, I brought my kids out to see you guys. The very first punk show they ever saw, the very first real rock show period, live show, was the Descendents in Seattle. And it was a great sort of first-time experience for them. It was Bumper Shoot.
Oh, Bumper Shoot.
With Jawbreaker. Remember that? A couple years ago? It was like three years ago, something like that. And then after that, then their first time seeing MxPx was in Vegas for When We Were Young Fest, and they saw Goldfinger at that same fest. And so they've seen us in these huge kind of shows, and saw you guys at a pretty, with a pretty big audience too. That, at Bumper Shoot, that was a huge festival audience. So next up is them coming. They've come to a couple club shows as well for MxPx, but seeing you guys in a venue would be great.
Yeah. How old are your kids now?
10. My son is 10 and my daughter is 13. So they're just like starting to get into all the social aspect of life and friend groups and everything. It's been insane. But
mine are grown up. I'm a grandpa.
Wow. Insane. Yeah. Dude.
I'm a grandpa 2 times over.
Congratulations. Yeah. That's I mean, you've really done something, when you got a family and then your kids have a family. It's like, wow. Amazing.
Yeah, I got no complaints. Miles is he's a full-time employee at the blasting room too now. But I didn't hand it to him. It's the opposite. It's reverse Nepo.
Okay.
He was an intern up there, an unpaid slave for a year and a half before my guys came to me and said, "Hey, we want to hire Miles." And I said, "Yes, please do." But I never foisted it. I've not given him any undue legs up because I never wanted that held over him,
Yep. That's great.
His band practices like Navy SEALs. They work so hard. So whatever he manages to put together out of all this, he earned it the hard way by the sweat of his brow,
Yeah, and he had a great role model, and all his uncles are great role models. And I think I'm so glad to see that he is really, really great at what he does. And that there's no way you could be more proud of just having a kid that's doing something that he loves to do and does it well. whether it's what you already do or not. You know, like it doesn't have to always be what you do, you know, but it is pretty nice, pretty cool.
Well, John and Miles are here now, so I think I'm going to go ahead and get to practice.
Perfect. All right. Hey, we'll get this out, and we'll see you guys on the road.
Okay, Mike. Thank you for taking the time for me. I appreciate it.
Dude, absolutely. Likewise.
Hopefully, I'll see you soon.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Bill.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Peace. Huge thanks to Bill Stevenson. Of course, if you don't know, he's the drummer for the Descendents, all parts of Black Flag. Him and his son are playing with Jon Snodgrass on the tour. So please, by the time this drops, you can catch them in Indianapolis. That's on August 4th at Hi-Fi Annex, or Chicago, Illinois on August 5th at Dahlia Hall, and then up north in the Great White North of Tillsonburg, Ontario. They'll be up on the 7th and 8th of August for Buddies Fest. And then the very last show in Detroit, Michigan at St. Andrews on the 9th of August. Please go get tickets early. They need to sell a few more. Who doesn't, right? We always do. So we just don't want to leave any blue dots on their tour. All right, much love. The Descendents and all are seriously my favorite band. Like I've known those guys a long time, but I've known their music even longer. So really was amazing to have Bill on. And anytime I see Bill, we talk and stuff, but I just never want to bother him because he's locked into his show. He's doing his thing. And so it's great to finally have him on the podcast. All right. Shout out to Bob McKnight and Christine Hall for producing. Appreciate you guys. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Mike Herrera Video. On socials, it's Mike Herrera Podcast, Mike Herrera Pod on Twitter. And then my personals are Mike Herrera TD, just about everywhere. And of course, you can go follow the Descendents wherever you do the socials. All right, you guys, MxPx.com for all of your merchandise needs. Appreciate all your support. And we'll see you guys at Warped Tour coming up in Montreal. That's next up. All right. End of the summer. Go get tickets for Punkadeka Festival. That's September 5th. That's a Saturday in Milan, Italy. Aside from that, Warped Tour, and stay tuned for anything else. All right, you guys. Peace.